Have you ever wondered why some marriages seem to lose their spark, while others grow stronger over time? Many women believe that simply loving in any way is enough to keep the bond alive. But what if I told you that it's not just how much you love, but how and when you show that love that determines whether a man feels deeply connected to you or drifts away for reasons you can't explain? Carl Jung once said that the unconscious holds answers the conscious mind cannot see. Inside every married man there are invisible windows, moments when he is more vulnerable, more open, more receptive to the right gesture. Recognizing those moments is like finding a hidden key. Suddenly, emotional doors open, and the relationship gains a strength that feels unbreakable. In this video, you'll uncover what no popular guide ever reveals, the hidden signals that show you the exact moment to give love, and the way to do it so that your marriage is transformed. The secret power of the right moment. Have you ever stopped to think about why a gesture of love sometimes feels unforgettable and at other times almost invisible? The difference is rarely about the gesture itself. It is about when it happens. A kind word, a warm hug, or a thoughtful question can touch the heart deeply when it arrives at the right time. The very same gesture delivered without attention to timing can be missed, ignored, or even misunderstood. That is the secret power of the right moment. Carl Jung believed that human beings live within rhythms, both visible and hidden. Some are external, like the seasons of the year or the cycle of day and night. Others are internal, like moods, energy levels, or the unconscious needs we barely recognize in ourselves. When love aligns with these inner rhythms, it creates resonance, an invisible harmony that makes two people feel deeply connected. For a married man, timing becomes even more crucial. His daily life is filled with responsibilities, expectations, and roles he must fulfill. At work, he may feel pressure to perform. At home, he may feel pressure to provide. And inside himself, he may carry unspoken doubts. If love reaches him in a rushed moment, he might experience it as one more demand. But when love arrives at the right moment, it feels like oxygen. It revives him, restores him, and reminds him of who he is beyond duties. Imagine a painting. Without the proper frame, the picture might blend into the background. But when framed well, it becomes impossible to ignore. Love is like that. The frame is timing. The right frame makes even a small gesture shine brighter than a grand gesture given at the wrong time. What does this look like in daily life? It might be as simple as noticing his body language when he enters the room. Does he look tired? That might be the moment when a quiet gesture of support means more than a long conversation. Does he look excited? That might be the moment to celebrate with him. Timing transforms the ordinary into the meaningful. Jung described the meeting of inner and outer events as synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that touch us deeply. When your loving action meets his emotional state, that's synchronicity at work in your marriage. He might not analyze it, but he will feel it. He will remember not only what you did, but the uncanny way it reached him exactly when he needed it. This is why many women feel frustration when they give affection or attention, but it seems unnoticed. It is not always about the lack of appreciation. Often the timing was off. He wasn't emotionally open in that moment, so the gesture slipped past him. When this happens repeatedly, resentment can build on both sides. She feels invisible and he feels pressured. But when you learn to respect the hidden clock of emotion, everything changes. A gentle word before he faces a challenge, a reassuring touch when he feels uncertain, or a playful gesture when his mood is light. These moments stay with him. They form anchors in his memory, reminding him that he is seen and valued. You don't need to become a mind reader. You only need awareness. Pay close attention to his tone, his breathing, his energy. Notice the way his eyes shift or how he pauses before speaking. These subtle signs reveal when he is open, when he is carrying weight, and when he craves affirmation. With practice, you begin to sense the rhythm of his emotional life, just as you sense the rhythm of music. Think of timing as part of the art of love. It is not about constant giving, but about meaningful giving. It is not about quantity, but about placement. One well-placed gesture can outweigh dozens of misplaced ones. This is what makes love feel alive and remembered. Jung's work reminds us that the unconscious communicates through symbols and feelings. The right moment often reveals itself through atmosphere more than words. Trust your intuition. When you feel that pull to offer love, don't hesitate. That small spark may be the very moment that reshapes the bond. The secret power of the right moment is that it transforms love into experience. It ensures that affection is not just an action, but an event that lingers in the memory. When you master this, you stop asking, "Am I giving enough?" Instead, you realize, "I am giving in the moments that matter most." And that is what makes love unforgettable. Why love without timing fails. Many people believe that love is enough on its own. They think that as long as they give affection, attention, or sacrifice, the relationship will naturally grow stronger. But if that were true, so many marriages would not fall into distance, routine, or coldness. The truth is that love without timing often fails. Not because love disappears, but because it is delivered in moments when it cannot be received. Carl Jung explained that much of human life is guided by patterns we are not fully aware of. These patterns influence when we are open to connection and when we are closed off. A married man may carry deep affection for his partner, but if her gestures come when he is distracted, stressed, or defensive, he may not absorb them. It is like pouring water into a closed container. The effort is real, but nothing goes inside. This is why so many women feel unappreciated. They give and give, but nothing seems to touch him. The problem is not the love itself. The problem is timing. Imagine planting seeds in winter. You can plant the best seeds with the best soil, but if the season is wrong, nothing will grow. Love works the same way. The seed is your intention, but the season is timing. Without the right season, the soil of his heart is not ready to receive. Jung often emphasized the importance of awareness, seeing beyond appearances into the hidden reality beneath. To apply this to love, you need to see beyond the action and ask, is this the right moment? Many gestures fail not because they are weak, but because they are misplaced. Consider a simple example. If he is overwhelmed with worries trying to solve a work issue in his mind, and you decide that is the moment to demand attention, he may react defensively. Your gesture, though well-intended, lands as pressure. On the other hand, if you wait until he feels lighter, the same words of affection feel nurturing. Same love, different timing, completely different result. This is why marriages can feel confusing. A woman may think, "I am doing everything, but nothing works." In truth, she may be working against the rhythm of timing. She is giving, but not in the right moment. Love without timing creates frustration. The giver feels ignored, and the receiver feels misunderstood. Over time, this builds walls. She feels invisible, he feels criticized, and the bond weakens. The tragic part is that both may still love each other deeply, but the lack of timing hides that love behind layers of hurt. Jung believed that transformation begins when we bring the unconscious into awareness. If you become aware of the role of timing, you gain power. You stop blaming yourself for not loving enough and stop blaming him for not seeing your effort. Instead, you begin to focus on harmony, on aligning your giving with the moment he is able to receive. How do you practice this? By slowing down and observing. Timing requires patience. It means noticing when he is open, not forcing connection when he is closed. It means letting go of the idea that love must always be expressed on your schedule. Real connection happens in the flow of the moment, not in control. Think about music. A song is not only about the notes, but about the pauses, the rhythm, the rise and fall of sound. Without timing, music becomes noise. Love is similar. Without timing, even good intentions can turn into tension. With timing, even small gestures become unforgettable melodies in his memory. Love without timing fails because it forgets that love is relational. It is not only about what you give, but about how it is received. If your gesture cannot be received, it loses its meaning. That is why many marriages survive not on the grandest gifts, but on the simple ones that arrive at the right moment. To live this truth, you must shift perspective. Instead of asking, "Am I showing enough love?" begin to ask, "Is this the moment he can truly feel it?" That question changes everything. It removes pressure, creates awareness, and brings back the natural flow of affection. When timing is honored, love feels alive. When timing is ignored, love feels heavy. This is the difference between a bond that grows and one that fades. The power is not only in the act of love, but in the moment it enters his heart. If you want to go deeper and finally understand the hidden patterns in your relationships, there is a simple path. It's called the Jung Method. The link is pinned in the first comment. Don't miss it. Gestures that speak louder than words. Everyone has heard the phrase, "Actions speak louder than words." But when it comes to marriage, this truth becomes even more powerful. Words can be beautiful, but they can also be empty if they are not supported by action. Gestures, on the other hand, often bypass the mind and go straight to the heart. For a married man, certain gestures communicate love more deeply than any speech ever could. Carl Jung taught that symbols and actions carry meaning far beyond what we consciously understand. A gesture can touch the unconscious directly, creating an impact that lingers long after the moment has passed. When you act with intention, your partner doesn't just hear that he is loved, he feels it in a way that words alone cannot provide. Think of a gesture as a living symbol. It might be something small like bringing him a glass of water without him asking, or adjusting your tone to show gentleness when he seems tense. These actions may appear simple, but they carry enormous weight because they represent care. They tell him, "You are seen, you are valued, you are important to me." The beauty of gestures is that they work beneath the surface. He may not even comment on them, but he registers them in his memory. Over time, these small acts build an emotional foundation. They become reminders that your love is not just spoken, but lived. Many women underestimate how deeply a man remembers the moments when love was shown through action. He may forget exact words, but he rarely forgets how an action made him feel. Jung would say this is because the unconscious records feelings more vividly than thoughts. That is why gestures matter. They embed themselves in the emotional memory. So, what kinds of gestures speak louder than words? They are not always grand or dramatic. Often the most powerful ones are subtle and consistent. A supportive smile before he leaves the house. A warm touch on his hand during a stressful moment. Listening without interrupting when he is trying to process something. These are not complicated strategies. They are simple ways of saying, "I am here and I care." At times, gestures also protect love from being drowned in routine. Words like "I love you" may lose freshness if repeated mechanically. But when paired with genuine actions, those same words regain their life. The gesture gives the word its power. Without the gesture, the word risks becoming hollow. Jung emphasized the importance of authenticity, living from the true self, not just from the social mask. Gestures that speak louder than words come from authenticity. If you act from duty alone, he may feel the weight of obligation. But when you act from genuine affection, he feels the freedom of love. The difference is not in the action itself, but in the energy behind it. For example, making him a meal out of routine feels different than surprising him with a favorite dish, because you remembered what brings him joy. The first feels expected. The second feels alive. That aliveness is what keeps connection strong. Gestures also bridge the gap when words fail. Every relationship faces moments when communication becomes difficult. In those times, a gesture can express what words cannot. A reassuring look, a patient presence, or even shared silence can communicate love more clearly than endless discussion. Actions bypass confusion and reach the essence of the bond. But it is not only about doing more, it is about doing with meaning. Too many gestures without intention can feel like noise. A few gestures done with presence feel like music. The key is quality over quantity. Think of love as a story written not only with sentences but with scenes. Gestures create the unforgettable scenes. Years later, a man may not remember every conversation, but he will remember the day you supported him when no one else did, or the time you noticed his struggle without him asking. These moments shape his inner image of you. The reason gestures work so powerfully is that they touch both his conscious and unconscious mind. Consciously, he sees the act. Unconsciously, he feels the meaning. Jung believed that true transformation happens when the unconscious is engaged. That is why actions can create a shift in his perception that words alone cannot achieve. In the end, gestures that speak louder than words remind us that love is not about constant talking. It is about constant showing. Your husband may not always repeat the words you want to hear, but if your gestures align with authentic care, he will feel the truth of your love more deeply than any phrase could ever tell. The hidden triggers of his heart. Every person has invisible buttons, those subtle triggers that awaken emotions, desires, and memories. For a married man, these hidden triggers are not always obvious. But when touched in the right way, they unlock powerful feelings of love and connection. Ignoring them, on the other hand, can make him seem distant, distracted, or uninterested. Understanding these triggers is not manipulation. It is awareness. It is learning the deeper language of his heart. Carl Jung believed that much of our behavior is guided by the unconscious, by forces we barely recognize in ourselves. A man may not even realize why certain gestures affect him so deeply, but they do. His heart carries imprints from childhood, from early experiences, from moments of success and failure. These imprints form emotional triggers, moments when he is more open to affection and more likely to feel loved. For example, many men feel deeply moved when their effort is recognized. It may seem small to say, "I noticed how hard you worked today." But for him, that recognition touches an old trigger, the desire to feel capable, respected, and valued. Jung often spoke of the archetype of the hero, the inner image of the man who wants to conquer challenges. When you acknowledge his effort, you speak directly to that archetype, and it awakens gratitude and closeness. Another hidden trigger is care in vulnerable moments. A man may appear strong and independent, but even the strongest carry doubts and fears. When you offer comfort without judgment during those times, it triggers a sense of safety. Safety is not just physical, it is emotional. Knowing he can rest emotionally with you becomes one of the strongest bonds he will ever experience. But triggers are not always positive. Some words or tones can touch old wounds. Criticism, comparison, or disrespect may awaken painful memories of failure or rejection. Jung would call this the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche that carries unresolved pain. If those shadows are triggered, he may close off. Not because he doesn't love you, but because the wound speaks louder in that moment. That is why awareness is essential, to touch the triggers that open him, not the ones that shut him down. These triggers are often revealed through observation. Watch when he seems most alive. Notice what makes his eyes light up or his posture relax. Pay attention to when he withdraws or becomes defensive. These are signs pointing to the hidden map of his heart. With patience, you begin to understand the pathways that lead to deeper connection. Gestures that match his hidden triggers often leave lasting impact. Bringing appreciation after his effort, offering kindness when he is vulnerable, or celebrating his small victories all activate the unconscious need to feel seen and valued. These actions might feel ordinary to you, but to him, they feel extraordinary because they touch the very places where love becomes unforgettable. Jung believed that true relationships live in the meeting of two inner worlds. When you touch his triggers, you are not forcing love, you are aligning with the rhythm of his inner world. That alignment creates harmony. It shows him that he is not just living beside you, but with you, in deep connection. The mistake many couples make is assuming that the same actions work for everyone. But triggers are unique. What touches one man may not touch another. This is why real connection requires attention. It is not about copying advice from outside, but about discovering the unique triggers of your own husband. That discovery is what makes love personal and real. Think of these triggers as keys. Each key opens a different door in his heart. Some keys unlock joy, others unlock trust, others unlock desire. When you learn which keys to use, you no longer have to push doors open. They open naturally, and he feels that you truly know him. At the core, hidden triggers remind us that love is not general. It is specific. It is not just about saying, "I love you." It is about showing love in the exact way that touches his unique inner world. Jung would say this is the difference between a relationship of masks and a relationship of souls. When you respect and respond to the hidden triggers of his heart, you stop walking in the dark. You begin to see the clear pathways that lead to intimacy, trust, and lasting love. And he, in turn, begins to feel what every man longs for. Not just to be loved, but to be understood. When effort turns into connection. Every marriage requires effort. Couples are told to work on the relationship, to try harder, to give more. But here is the truth many never realize. Effort alone does not guarantee connection. You can try endlessly, give tirelessly, and still feel a wall between you. Real intimacy begins when effort is transformed into connection, when what you give is not only action, but a bridge that truly reaches his heart. Carl Jung believed that people are not shaped only by what they consciously choose, but by the unconscious meaning behind their choices. In marriage, this means that your effort is not felt by your husband simply because you act. It is felt when the action aligns with what matters most to him on an inner level. That is the moment when effort turns into connection. Imagine two women. One spends hours organizing everything in the house, believing that this effort will show love. Another takes a few minutes to listen attentively when her husband shares something important to him. From the outside, the first woman's effort seems larger. But which one reaches deeper? The second, because love is not measured in hours, but in emotional impact. For a married man, what creates connection is not the size of the effort, but whether the effort touches his need for respect, support, or understanding. Jung often explained that meaning is what drives the psyche. When your effort carries meaning for him, he feels loved. Without meaning, even great effort can feel unnoticed. This is why some women feel exhausted from trying yet unappreciated. They invest energy in tasks that may be important in their eyes but not in his heart. The result is frustration. She feels invisible and he feels misunderstood. Connection is missing. To transform effort into connection, awareness is key. Begin to notice what actions truly move him. Is it when you acknowledge his achievements? Is it when you show patience during his stress? Is it when you share joy in his victories, no matter how small? These are not random, they are emotional bridges. They carry your effort directly into his inner world. Another important aspect is authenticity. Jung emphasized that the self longs for wholeness, not masks. If your effort comes from pressure, duty, or fear, he will sense it. A gesture given with resentment does not connect, even if it is helpful. But a gesture given with genuine presence carries warmth. He may not articulate it, but he will feel the difference. Think of connection as electricity. The wire of effort only carries power when it is connected to the right source. If the connection is missing, the current cannot flow. Many marriages are filled with wires, actions, words, routines, but no current. Connection is what makes the energy flow. This transformation also requires balance. Too much effort without awareness creates exhaustion. Too little effort creates neglect. Connection lives in the middle, where effort is meaningful, intentional, and aligned with what truly matters. One way to shift effort into connection is to replace performance with presence. Instead of asking, "What more can I do?" begin to ask, "How can I be with him in this moment?" Sometimes the most powerful connection is not in doing, but in being, sitting together, sharing silence, or laughing over something simple. Presence turns ordinary effort into intimacy. Jung would remind us that relationships are not mechanical. They are living systems. You cannot force connection by effort alone, just as you cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling its petals. You nurture the soil, give water and light, and allow the natural process to unfold. Love works the same way. Effort is the care, connection is the bloom. When effort turns into connection, something profound happens. The relationship stops feeling like a duty and begins to feel like a source of strength. He feels that you are not just acting but reaching him. You feel that your energy is not wasted but received. Both begin to rest in the bond instead of struggling against it. The lesson is simple but life-changing. Effort is important, but effort without connection is empty. Connection gives effort its meaning, and when a man feels that your actions are not just work, but love that meets him where he is, his heart responds with gratitude, trust, and renewed affection. How daily acts create lasting bonds. Many people believe that great love is proven in dramatic moments, grand declarations, expensive gifts, or rare surprises. But what sustains a marriage through the years is not the extraordinary. It is the ordinary. The daily acts, small and consistent, are the real builders of lasting bonds. They may look simple on the surface, but in the heart, they become the strongest foundation of love. Carl Jung often highlighted that the psyche is shaped not only by big events, but by repeated patterns. What we experience again and again becomes part of us. In marriage, this means that what you do every day, even the smallest gestures, slowly writes the story of your bond. A man may forget the details of one special trip, but he will never forget the way you smiled at him each morning, or the way you noticed him after a long day. Daily acts matter because they create rhythm. Just as the body trusts the rising of the sun and the changing of the seasons, the heart learns to trust love when it appears consistently. A hug before sleep, a kind word during meals, or a touch on the shoulder as you pass. These small rhythms whisper, "I am here, I see you, I choose you." Over time, this whisper becomes an unshakable truth. The unconscious thrives on repetition. Jung explained that repeated experiences form archetypes, patterns that live deep in the soul. When your husband repeatedly experiences care, respect, and presence in daily acts, he develops an inner archetype of safety with you. You become, in his unconscious, the figure of trust. That trust is not built in one day. It is built in countless little moments that quietly shape his heart. Many couples underestimate this. They wait for anniversaries or crises to show love, forgetting that the real test of love is in the in-between. A marriage rarely breaks because of one big failure. More often, it erodes through the absence of small daily affirmations. Neglect of the ordinary creates distance just as much as betrayal of the extraordinary. Daily acts also prevent routine from becoming emptiness. Routine itself is not the enemy. In fact, routine can be sacred when filled with meaning. The danger comes when routine loses soul, when actions are done mechanically without presence. Jung warned about living through masks and habits that lack authenticity. The challenge is to keep presence alive in the ordinary. A simple good morning spoken with real attention carries more love than 100 distracted gestures. These daily acts are not only for him, they transform you as well. When you practice small gestures of love consistently, you remind yourself of your choice. You live your love actively, instead of waiting for feelings to appear by chance. Over time, this creates not only a stronger bond with him, but a deeper connection to your own values. Some women ask, but are small acts enough? The answer is yes, if they are consistent and authentic. Think of water carving stone. A single drop does nothing, but steady drops over time create valleys. In the same way, steady acts of care carve love into the deepest parts of the soul. Practical examples of daily acts are simple: listening without distraction when he speaks, greeting him warmly, respecting his efforts, sharing small joys, or offering comfort without being asked. None of these require extraordinary effort. What makes them powerful is repetition. Done daily, they become invisible threads that weave your lives together. Jung believed that wholeness is found in integration, the union of many small parts into a meaningful whole. Marriage follows the same principle. Each small act of kindness, respect, or presence may look insignificant by itself, but together they create a whole bond that feels unbreakable. When daily acts are neglected, a man may start to feel unseen even if love still exists. When daily acts are present, even difficulties become lighter because he feels anchored. He knows deep in his unconscious that he is not alone. That knowledge is what keeps marriages alive through storms. In the end, the lesson is simple. Love is not proven only in rare moments, but in constant presence. The daily acts you choose today will echo years into the future. They are the quiet builders of lasting bonds, the kind of bonds that no storm can destroy. The mistakes that break affection. Love can be strong, but it is also fragile. A marriage is rarely destroyed overnight. More often, it is worn down by repeated mistakes that slowly erode affection. These mistakes are not always dramatic. Many are small daily choices that seem harmless in the moment, but over time create distance. To protect your bond, you must understand what these mistakes are, and why they have such power to weaken love. Carl Jung often taught that what we ignore in ourselves becomes our shadow, and that shadow influences relationships. In marriage, mistakes are often the shadow of love, the blind spots that go unnoticed until they cause harm. Recognizing them is not about blame, but about awareness. Awareness brings the power to change. One of the most common mistakes is neglect. When daily attention disappears, affection fades. A man may not complain immediately, but inside he feels invisible. Neglect tells him, "You are not worth my time." Over weeks and months, this message sinks into his unconscious. He begins to doubt his importance, and affection turns into emptiness. Another mistake is constant criticism. Feedback is natural, but when it becomes frequent judgment, it wounds deeply. Jung explained that words have symbolic power. They reach the unconscious as symbols of acceptance or rejection. Harsh criticism, even about small things, plants the symbol of rejection. Over time, he no longer hears only your words. He hears the message that he is never enough. Comparison is also destructive. When you compare him to other men, even jokingly, it activates insecurity. Every man carries hidden fears of inadequacy. Comparisons press on those fears, creating distance instead of closeness. What he needs is affirmation that he is unique to you, not measured against others. Withholding affection is another silent mistake. Some women withdraw love to punish or control, believing it will teach him a lesson. In reality, it weakens the bond. Jung believed that love should be a path of integration, not division. Withholding affection divides the relationship into winners and losers, instead of building unity. A subtle but powerful mistake is distraction. In a world filled with screens and noise, giving divided attention has become common. But for a married man, distraction communicates, "You are not my priority." Over time, he stops sharing, because he feels that his presence no longer matters. Affection weakens not from lack of love, but from lack of presence. There are also mistakes rooted in misunderstanding timing. Giving affection when he is closed or demanding attention when he is overwhelmed can backfire. Instead of feeling loved, he feels pressured. This teaches him to associate closeness with stress, which slowly erodes desire for connection. Jung emphasized that healing requires consciousness. To prevent these mistakes from breaking affection, you must bring them into awareness. Notice patterns. Do you interrupt when he speaks? Do you dismiss his small efforts? Do you assume he should already know your feelings instead of expressing them? These may seem small, but they carry weight. The opposite of these mistakes is not perfection, it is presence. Instead of neglect, offer attention. Instead of criticism, offer encouragement. Instead of comparison, offer affirmation. Instead of withholding, offer openness. Instead of distraction, offer presence. Each correction is a choice that rebuilds affection instead of breaking it. It is also vital to remember that mistakes happen in every marriage. What destroys love is not the mistake itself, but the repetition without repair. Jung wrote about the importance of integration, bringing light to the dark places. When mistakes are admitted, talked about, and corrected, they lose their destructive power. But when ignored, they multiply in the unconscious, shaping resentment that eventually feels irreversible. Affection thrives not in perfection, but in repair. A man feels closest to the woman who not only loves him, but who also recognizes when something is wrong and takes steps to restore harmony. This process of repair communicates humility, care, and commitment. It shows him, our bond matters more than my pride. That message keeps affection alive even through mistakes. In the end, the mistakes that break affection are not destiny. They are signals, reminders that love needs attention, care, and renewal. When you learn to see them, you gain the power to prevent them, and when you replace them with conscious choices, you build a marriage that is not only strong but alive with affection that lasts. The path to a stronger forever. The idea of forever is one of the most powerful promises a couple can make. In the beginning, it feels easy to believe in it. Emotions are fresh, love is exciting, and the future looks endless. But as years pass, reality sets in. Bills, responsibilities, differences, and struggles appear. Many couples discover that forever is not automatic. It is not a word that keeps its power on its own. Forever must be built, renewed, and protected. Carl Jung taught that relationships are not only about companionship, but also about transformation. A marriage does not simply give comfort. It challenges both partners to grow, to face hidden fears, and to discover deeper strength. This is why forever is not just about surviving together. It is about using love as a path to become more complete human beings. A strong forever is not a fixed state, but a process of growth. One of the foundations of this path is the ordinary. It is tempting to think love lasts through big gestures, a vacation, a surprise gift, a passionate declaration. But the truth is that forever is created in the small details. A gentle word in the morning, a touch of appreciation after a long day, the way you notice his mood without him speaking. These daily acts are like drops of water carving stone. Alone, they may seem small. Over time, they shape unshakable trust. Jung believed the unconscious is shaped by repetition. Repeated acts of care tell his unconscious, you are chosen every day. Another foundation is resilience. No couple escapes difficulty. There will be disagreements, financial stress, moments of fatigue, and even times when love feels distant. Many believe conflict is proof of failure, but Jung explained that growth often emerges when opposites collide. In marriage, resilience means learning to face storms together instead of apart. Each storm survived as a team makes the bond stronger, not weaker. Acceptance also plays a vital role. Forever does not mean loving only the ideal version of your husband. It means embracing both his strengths and his flaws, both his light and his shadow. Jung described integration as the process of uniting every part of the self. In marriage, integration means this: I see your whole self, not just the parts that please me, and I choose you still. That acceptance creates emotional safety. Safety is the soil where deeper intimacy grows. Consistency strengthens the path. Dramatic gestures may create memories, but daily constancy creates security. A steady flame warms more deeply than a burst of fire. When he experiences love in consistent ways through kindness, respect, presence, he no longer doubts the bond. Forever becomes believable because it is demonstrated every day. Growth is another requirement. A marriage where only one partner grows will eventually feel unbalanced. Supporting each other's goals, celebrating progress, and exploring new experiences together keeps the bond alive. Jung believed the unconscious always pushes us toward expansion. Couples who embrace growth together extend their path toward forever. Repair is equally crucial. Every marriage will face mistakes. Words will be said in anger. Moments of neglect will happen. Expectations will not be met. What destroys relationships is not failure itself, but pride that refuses to repair. Repair is humility in action, the ability to say, "I was wrong," and the grace to answer, "I still choose you." Repair heals wounds before they harden into resentment. Presence, above all, gives forever its depth. A married man values presence more than almost anything else. True presence means listening without distraction, giving full attention and showing up emotionally. Presence says, "In this moment, nothing matters more than you." That message, repeated often, becomes the strongest shield against distance and doubt. Finally, the path to a stronger forever requires meaning. Jung believed the soul craves purpose. A marriage that lasts is not only about comfort, it is about creating meaning together. Shared rituals, common goals, even challenges overcome become a story bigger than the two individuals. That story is the legacy of the relationship, the real forever that outlives time.